Well, here we are again. This time I'm actually running around and doing stuff, like a normal person. Well, almost. Anyway, I was just going to talk about a topic. The topic of self-love and how it tends to get pretty misunderstood, as most things do. But with this one, it's pretty important because without it, everything means nothing. Like, life is essentially pointless and meaningless and totally directionless. Kind of like how I am like right now. Where am I going? What am I doing? But the thing is, you're unable to actually enjoy your life without loving yourself. And I mean really loving yourself. It's not about having a high opinion of yourself, and it's really not about anything. It's just about loving who you are. But most people, they don't know who they are because they've denied it so much. But the thing is, all the shit that you like see in the world that you hate and stuff like that you like, basically, and I mean, it's outside of, people just being evil or just bad things happening. It's outside of that, but just the day-to-day shit. You're walking down the street, you see a couple kissing, and you're like, oh fuck. Because maybe you haven't found that in your life, and you fucking see that shit. Or maybe you have found it and you can't have it because the person doesn't want to be with you. Maybe that's what's happening, which that's like hell. But either way, it's both its own kind of hell, really. But well, one actually is hell. Especially if you see them with someone else, that specific person. Not just seeing people, like random people, but you see them out with maybe the person. Shit, the worst shit? This is the worst shit. So, you catch them cheating on you with the person, and then after some time, you're all fucked up over it, and then you see them out and being all lovey-dovey and shit. Yeah, that's the worst. I haven't experienced that, but that is as bad as I think it could possibly get. I mean, right next to you, fucking. Okay, the worst it could possibly ever be is that they're like popular fucking. So say you think you have a whole ass relationship with this person, but turns out they're like a porn star or some shit, and they're like super popular, and they have been for like the past 10 years. And so they got bodies, right? And you're over here thinking you're with this person, but you're really with this person. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it could be that bad, or it could just be like, what it usually is. What is it usually? Is what I mean. That was a guy's voice, but I was trying to imitate a woman because that's the kind of question they would ask. Because every guy knows what the fuck I'm talking about. I don't even have to explain it, right? Do I have to explain it? I mean, I'm talking about all variations of that shit, right? All that bullshit, right? All of it. All the games, all the tricks, all the fucking nonsense. All of it. Every single variation. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And they'll defend that shit, and they'll get all defensive and shit, and they'll say, oh no, it's your fault. It's because you're fucking sassy, or just anything in between. They won't even say it. They may not even know what you're talking about. Even that, really. Not to say to take offense, but just like, it runs deep. They just do not, it does not come across in their experience. Their experience is very different. So they ain't gonna understand what I'm talking about. The equivalent for them is that, what you see when they get the career, they get all the stuff. Oh, I'm a bad bitch all on my own shit. And then it gets to the fucking point where they are like pushing 40 and fertility issues are a real thing, and they're honestly, their clock is saying now, and I want it more than anything, but I can't find anybody, or I can but they don't want anything to do with me, or they only want to smash, right? So I don't know. Or it's not even getting to that point. Or it's also, it's not having kids, but it's having a bunch of kids by a bunch of different dudes. You know what I mean? It's that too. That specifically. Not 2 baby daddies. I'd say at least 3. 2 baby daddies makes sense. I mean, shit. Especially if you're young and you have a kid, it makes sense that, like, you know, by the time that you're 40, you may actually meet somebody else and have another kid. If you weren't just with that first person the entire time, which is unusual nowadays. So it makes sense. I mean, most guys don't like that shit, for sure, 100%. So it's like you pretty much you got what you got, basically, at that point. But they complain and they say, oh, men are shit. And it's like, bro, we ain't even did nothing, bro. What? And it's our fault? Type shit. So, the thing is about self-love, that type of shit wouldn't bother you. Getting fucking accused for all kinds of heinous shit. Because it's like, it's not even that, like, oh, I didn't do anything and I don't have to... It has nothing to do with that. It's just like, you know who you are. Whereas, like I was saying, most people don't necessarily, because they're so confused. They're so confused. But they don't really know who they are. But when you do know who you are, the only way that you could ever enjoy life is if you love yourself. Because if you don't, then basically you're just denying yourself of who you are. You're cutting yourself. You're pinching yourself off you're clipping your own wings. And you could be soaring, but instead the backs of your feet are scraping against the ground. Like the tops of your feet is scraping against the ground. Your forehead regularly meets the gravel. You know? Holy be golly gosh, I'm not gonna die here. Anyway, I don't know how to really what I'm saying can't be explained. When you really get down to it, I can get close, but to really know what I'm talking about, you have to experience it for yourself. Basically, if you don't love yourself, all you're doing is denying yourself. And who you are, the way to tell who you are if you don't know, is all the things that you're not allowing yourself, that you see that irritates you in the world, that you know you could be doing, but that you're just like, no, I don't want that, but you know deep down that you do. It's that. It's not the wanting, it's not the thing that you're wanting, that's who you are. What I just point out is that you're able to hate the fact that you want that, but you can't actually really hate yourself. Because if you get to the point where you really hate yourself, well, ending your life becomes very important. And I can know that I'm talking from experience, basically. But you're never really hating yourself. You're hating the experience of life, which is inseparable from who you are. Because nobody, like, that's what I'm saying. It's like when you deny that very basic right to just exist. And it's not even like that it's okay for you to exist. It's way more than okay. You're supposed to exist. I'd even go so far as to say that your existence is absolutely necessary, actually. That guy's annoying. But if you really believe, if you really get it into your mind, and especially into your heart, that if you really believe that you hate yourself, or that you're not good enough, or that maybe you're, not worth anything, or that you're terrible, or that something's wrong with you, or that you're a bad person, just like, not even because you did anything. It's like, there's a lot of people that would just come in straight up and manipulate this, and that likely will. But what I'll say is, like, it's not about what they're saying or anything. It's about how it actually, it's about what's happening inside of you. Are you feeling this way really about yourself? Because, I mean, and I'm not at all calling it into question, but all I'm saying is that, like, you're never going to be able to enjoy life with that feeling. And the thing is, that's just terrible. Ah, shit, I might be dead. That's actually the worst thing. Not being able to love yourself. Don't. I can see, I mean, like, anybody might come in here and criticize everything I'm doing, saying I'm retarded, say any type of shit. And they have. Trust me, they have. But it's like, anybody right now may come and do that, but what the fuck do they know? A lot of people will say a lot of shit for a lot of fucking stupid reasons, really. And I say, really, most people, they just lie straight up. If not that, they're not in tune enough with themselves to even tell the fucking truth. But the liars are the ones that are malicious, so, that sucks. That people just can't. People feel so powerless in their lives that they have to do everything to cut you off, Or that the people that are so unaware of that fact in themselves that they'll just go on and destroy people, And other people will just latch onto that shit too because they have it in them too. And it sucks that the people who aren't like that don't see it and call it out, That maybe even some people are dull to this stuff. Like, they're not perceptive enough to see it because not a lot of people are, and it's not their fault. Because most people don't participate in that sort of thing. Most people are just minding their own business, existing. Life is simple. Life is honestly really simple, and it's just that all the complications in life come from people complicating it unnecessarily. That's really all it is. It's not anything else, and it's a shame. But if, nobody realizes that, then all of these kinds of complications, and then now it becomes easy to not be enough or anything like that because, I don't know. But life is so simple. It's so simple, really. Like, fundamentally, it's so simple. The situations may be complex, but life itself is not complicated. There's really no... You can never think about how to love yourself. In fact, you can never you can never do it that way. You can never really understand loving yourself. I mean, this is what I'll put. This is the way I'll put it. You are the love You're not, there's no you to, I mean, I guess you could say other than the body, but you're not just the body. I mean, you could like love yourself in that way, like, you know, treat your body very well, be very physically attentive, right, to yourself, as a lot of people do, but it goes way, way, way beyond that. Way, way beyond that. In fact, really, that has nothing really to do with it. And it's essentially just a byproduct. But if you focus on that, then that's all it becomes. And suffering becomes your playmate. Like, it becomes the first thing you see in the morning. It becomes the object of your dreams. It becomes the last thing you see at night. You daydream about it. Yeah. But if you love yourself, you don't care what anybody thinks. In fact, you feel like people are allowed to think what they think. And in fact, you probably think it's interesting when people come to you with their ridiculous nonsense sometimes. Life is probably pretty fun. You know, except when it isn't. But even then, it's like it's not that bad. Because you're not suffering like how people will just be agonizing about how bad they are and how what's happening is so bad and like how, you know, and maybe it actually is worse just because they're doing that in ways that they don't understand. They're making it worse because things that otherwise wouldn't have happened happen just because they're like that. Like, I'll put it this way, someone who's drowning and flailing and stuff like that, and you try to save them, I mean, you know how that goes. But if they just relax, how easy is it? In fact, it could just be the very reason why they die, because of all that flailing and all that stuff, and that's likely what may happen, and what does happen, I think. Although not always. I'm not saying that that's just what happens, but you know what I'm talking about. It can cause an otherwise unnecessary death to the person who is reacting unnecessarily and essentially radically, but understandably, but not to disregard the facts of the situation. So, but if you just love yourself, none of that even happens. There's no fluctuation of this sense of self, of how good or bad you are, of how good or bad other things are. You know, there may be the observation of just the general state of affairs of like a tsunami versus a tidal wave, you know, or you know what I mean? Just like being able to see the degrees of things. Being able to see, oh, this is bad, but this is way, way worse, and being actually factual about it instead of being all emotional and shit. And like, oh my God, I'm so bad, and everything's so bad, and blah, blah, blah. And even if that may happen, it's like, you can come back real quick. But getting all, I'm just saying this because I see it. I see it. People get, I mean, it's happened to me many times. But it's like, and I think it still happens, but it's not as bad as it used to be. But I'm just pointing this out. It makes everything worse. But I'm saying if you love yourself, even if you freak out the craziest, it can even just be funny because you love yourself. You literally adore yourself. It's like you're not even. It's not in a self-centered way, and it's not in a narcissistic way. It's literally just you see your own flaws, and at the same time, you see the innocence of it. You see all of that stuff because you're experiencing it from yourself. You know what it is, and it's a great experience. And then once you know that, you can see it in other people too. Like I'm saying, life becomes just great when you're able to actually love yourself, because you're able to open up that pathway to love other people, and for other people to feel loved and love themselves as well through you, which is you loving them. Anyway, enough of that.